machine. I wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of gray in reverie. And I can burn it brighter than the sun. I have a golden gun inside of me. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else. And if I fall behind, ignoring all the signs, and if I lose the fight, I still rage against the I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Monday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Monday. Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. Derry Bennett, welcome. Jeff Garcia and Jim Ward died, and John Cena retired, and then Rob Reiner was shot dead. Yeah, I heard about that. That was crazy. John Lithium, welcome. Michael Hasser, welcome. John Cena had a good career. I agree. John Cena was a good egg, as far as I know. From what, excuse my WWE or wrestling ignorance. But as far as I know, he was a pretty good egg. Welcome, Moanep. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. Oh, I forgot to get my drink. 1 second, folks. It's been a crazy couple of days, and I lost my wallet yesterday. I have no idea where the heck it is. I still don't know where it is. And now starts the long process of getting everything replaced, which is a big pain in the butt. But it is what it is. Trump rescheduled pot and made it fascist. I heard that he's trying to reschedule it to Schedule 2. Whether or not he's gonna actually do it, I don't know. I guess we'll see. Just to be clear, I'm completely fine on loosening the classification for marijuana. I'm completely in favor of that. I'm completely on board with that. I just don't know, like, to what degree he's gonna do it, or to what end, right? Derry Bennett, welcome. Yeah, I saw about Rob Reiner. I saw about Rob Reiner. That is wild. He was stabbed by his He was stabbed by their son, right? Oh no, wait, he just passed away. Who was the one that was stabbed? Was that the son? The son of Rob Reiner? Allegedly. All right, folks, we're about to get started. Thank you all for being here. Check out all the links there, folks. Check out, if you want to support the stream, check out the tip, the exclamation mark tip, merch store, Substack, Discord, do all the things. Bella Lugrisi, welcome. Schedule 3, but he gave insider information to his favorite companies. Okay, yeah. There's always a catch with this thing, right? Because, like, yeah, of course I would be in favor of the reclassification of marijuana. But I guess the reason why Trump was doing it was to help provide some insider information. I would completely buy that. That makes complete sense and is on brand for Trump. His son, gotcha. Yeah, I remember. Okay, good. I had my story straight. That would be. All right, folks. Let me get started. We got limited time, and I'm tired, folks. Okay, I'm tired, but there's still stuff to talk about. So we're here. Heat, how's it going? Welcome. I fell asleep on the armchair today. I need that. I need exactly that. I'm tired, boss. And I even had a long weekend. We even had a long weekend, and somehow, some way, it's still I still am tired. It's fantastic how that plays out. But not today. Today I'm taking it easy, and we're gonna just cruise on by with all these stories that we have to get through, and then we're out of here. Because at the end of the day, there is still a lot of important stuff to talk about, so that's not gonna stop us here. Let's get started. Let me go grab my drink, and we will get started because this can't happen without the drink. Okay, it's important. It's just gonna be a black screen, folks. Just give me a second. I'll be right back. Yeah, fancy new void technology. Look at that. Look at that. It's just a black void, void, void. The void. Froggy, Mano, welcome. It's a void technology? I've been screaming into the whole time you were gone. Yeah, that's what it's there for. I don't know if I said hello. Welcome, John Lithium. We are ready to start, folks. I come for the void and stay for the lulz. Oh man, we try to make the lulz, okay? We try to squeeze out the ha-has, okay? Well, we try to squeeze out the ha-has where we can, okay? Stare into the void and my cat stares back at you. You know what I could do? I could get some cat eyes and just leave it like as the be right back screen. I honestly like had to do this whole thing all over again, and I never actually recreated my be right back screen. And that might be a cool idea to just have like little cat eyes just kind of blink ever so often. That's cool. It's just a way for me to skedaddle real quick and get a drink.
As Americans, we've been conditioned to hate our neighbors because, quite frankly, class solidarity is a threat to the ruling class. If you're too busy fighting your neighbors because you think that they're the root cause to all of your problems, you might not notice who the real enemy is. So elites deliberately pit us against each other to distract us while they rub us blind. It really is as simple as the classic meme of the elitist with a plate of cookies convincing the worker with one cookie that the immigrant is trying to take his only cookie. Although I think that this version of the meme is probably more apt these days. Or, as Mamdani eloquently put it, they're trying to convince somebody who's making $30 an hour that the guy making $20 an hour is who he should hate. And their scapegoating of minorities is not subtle. And I say that because on November 20th, DHS tweeted out a list of societal problems ranging from housing to healthcare to the cost of groceries. And as you can see, no matter the issue, immigrants were always to blame according to them. But Representative Pramila Jayapal retorted by crossing out immigrants and replacing them with billionaires, rightfully so. Now, there were basically three different responses to Jayapal's post. There were lefties who thought that it was based. There were neo-Nazis who said, actually, it's Jewish people. And there were centrists.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Of course. And that's what's frustrating about, like, all this, right? Like, you know, it's almost because of the centrists not acknowledging the problem and getting us to where we are is why you have people blaming, quote unquote, the Jews or quote unquote, the brown people, immigrants, or whoever, right? Trans people, whatever you want to scapegoat. It's the centrist politics, right? And I mean that, like, colloquially, because, like, I mean, let's be honest, folks, like, they're not actually centrist. Ladybug, welcome. Both sides enlightened. Sassy, welcome. My God, they were centrist. They completely missed the point. They completely missed the point.
Who smugly claimed that her post validated horseshoe theory and argued that both sides are equally dumb and have an overly simplistic worldview. Now, is Jayapal's analysis simplistic? Yes, like, that was the purpose of her tweet. She's
right. Like, you can. The thing is, like, we're not trying to sit down and have, like, an entire intellectual conversation and laying out the whole theory behind the class, you know, behind, like, the class divide that Marxism tends to believe in. We're not here to have an entire political theory discussion in a tweet. You can't do it. It's much simpler to say, hey, these, and honestly, it's probably better if you just kind of say, hey, we have a stratified society where you have someone like Elon Musk or Bill Gates or whoever, all these billionaires, right? Jeff Bezos up here, who have hoarded such a obscene amount of wealth at the cost of the rest of the population, and that's not okay. That's it. That's the thesis. PB Lou, welcome. I tried to raid chat here, but the stream ended exactly as I was clicking copy so I could paste his link in. Oh, it's all good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Countering propaganda put out by the Trump regime. But nonetheless, what she's saying is still objectively true. Immigrants and minorities are not responsible for all of society's problems like they want you to believe, whereas almost every single crisis that we are experiencing is
right. Like, that's the difference, though. Like, it seems intellectually dishonest to say that the same thing, like, oh, the problems with the left and the right is just that they sell you this, like, simplistic solution, and, like, they're both not understanding the nuances of what we're talking about. Like, that's not true at all. Like, if you talk to a right-winger, If you talk to a right winger, they're the simplistic ones. They literally just believe that immigrants are the problem, right? They were taught and told that immigrants are stealing your healthcare, right? They're stealing your resources. They're stealing your jobs. And that's it. Once you get rid of the brown people, things will be hunky-dory. It's cool for my kids to live on a dying planet so Elon Musk can tweet all day. Average 13 words, enjoyer. The Grump regime. Both siding is BS. Yeah, I mean, TLDR, yes. TLDR, yes. Both siding is BS and only benefits the right wing because they're the ones that benefit from the distortion of reality, right? Because both siding the argument, quote unquote, is distorting reality, and that only benefits the fascist. Always has been. Welcome.
Direct result of billionaires and multinational corporations either lobbying or buying off politicians and rigging the rules against the rest of us. You don't have free healthcare or a living wage or a union or affordable housing because elites paid the government to not give you those things so they can make money off of those things and profit off of your pain and suffering. It really is a zero-sum game because there's only a finite amount of resources to go around. So teaching Americans to hate billionaires is important, not only because they're justified in hating these leeches, but because it helps foster class solidarity among working people, which never really existed in this country in significant ways. It's not.
Yeah, like the problem isn't the doctor earning six figures, okay? No, like, oh, so what? You want everybody to earn six figures? Like, no, I want everybody to earn a living wage. I want everybody to earn a thriving wage at the very least, right? Like, that's how society should have been. That was the whole entire agreement, right? Like that's what capitalism sold us. That's what supposedly capitalism sold us. Hey, you sell us your time to the capitalists, right? You sell your time and labor, right? And in exchange, the capitalist supposedly gives you the money to be able to afford a house, food, whatever. But if that's not happening, and the capitalist is only just exploiting and exploiting and exploiting and exploiting and extracting and extracting and extracting, then the contract is breached. Then it's kind of BS, right? Kinda, right? It is. Everything they say is to benefit the wealthiest. The more we fight amongst ourselves, the more wealthy they get. Yeah, because nobody's standing up to them. If we're too busy fighting each other, and that's the thing, though. Like, you know, the right likes to talk about divisive politics from the left, but really, the people who are creating these divisive politics are the right, and they're being funded by the billionaire class to do this exact thing. My brethren in Christ, you don't have to be a bigoted, xenophobic a-hole. I'm just saying. Maybe the Earth is in much worse shape than we think, and that's why climate change was rolled back. We're threatening new wars over bare Earths, etc. Maybe that's why this administration has shifted on the bottom 50%. Yeah, I mean, I can definitely agree that the situation with the Earth's resources and things like that, it's bad. It's really bad. It's probably worse than we think. I know this because every time we get a new climate study and a new analysis on what's happening with the Earth's systems, it always ends up being that it turns out we missed something and it's actually worse. You know, like the ice caps are actually accelerating. They're melting by whatever. As an example, I'm just giving you an example. Actually, the coral reefs were actually really more screwed than we thought. Another example. Actually, that 1.5 degrees Celsius thing that we were supposed to hit, yeah, that's not... Oof, we're kind of cooked on that one. Birthers are always talking about repopulating the Earth, even though the Earth is fully populated. Curious. I just read that there'll be no more glaciers by 2030. Well, I don't know about that, but the glaciers are melting at a unworrying at a worrying accelerating rate. Yeah, don't panic. Hey, don't look up.
Like we would suddenly live in a utopia if we Thanos snapped billionaires out of existence, right? Because the real enemy really is the capitalist system itself, which allowed billionaires to exist in the first place. But just getting Americans to direct their anger towards elites who are hoarding all of the resources as opposed to, say, innocent immigrants, that is a political necessity if we are ever going to beat fascism, because that right there is how you facilitate meaningful change. You have to have class solidarity. Billionaires are manifestations of our late-stage capitalist system, and if you're viewing them as the common enemy, you're just one step away from having class solidarity and understanding the issues with the system itself. And just think about it this way. The right's answer creates more societal problems, whereas the left's answer solves society's problems, as simplistic as it may sound to centrists. Because if you believe that immigrants are the problem, what do? Well, you deport them. Then you're not just destroying their lives, you're taking away hard-paying, hard-working taxpayers who contribute to their local economy.
Right, like it's not really solutions. Like what the right offers is vibe checks, right? It is confirmation of your bigoted biases, right? You don't want these people here, and you have this economic... They exploit this economic anxiety by tapping into this xenophobic thing that's already there. Otherwise, people wouldn't buy it. Otherwise, people wouldn't buy it. Matt, welcome. You got to start somewhere, Mike. True. Yeah, like this whole fascism thing wouldn't work if people weren't already primed to be xenophobic. The planet is in deep sheets, and so are we. Indeed.
It's a net negative, objectively speaking, for everybody involved. Whereas if you believe that billionaires are the problem, the policy solution then is to have, say, a 10% wealth tax to fund education and universal pre-K, which would then be a net positive to communities. And if you take it a step further, and you eliminate billionaires.
Yeah, like nobody should have $1 billion. Okay, that is obscene. Drug addicts are ruining things. Elon Musk totally off their nut. Yeah, but I don't know if I would say it that way. I think just billionaires are ruining things. Yeah. It's all learned behavior too, and there's billions of dollars backing that miseducation on purpose. Yes.
And you
right.
redistribute resources to the rest of society. Imagine all of the other things that we can do with that money to help regular working class people. But we've been conditioned to think that rich people have to have everything because that wealth is going to trickle down to us one day. So it's actually good that they're getting money because it's going to benefit us. You know, as right-wing economist Peter Schiff put it, if you want to help the poor, then lower taxes on the rich. What helps the poor is a productive economy that makes goods and services more abundant and less expensive while creating employment opportunities. The capital investment that makes that possible comes from the rich. Now, multimillionaire CEO Ramit Sethi responded to this saying, "I'm rich and this is a lie. When politicians lower my taxes, I don't create additional jobs. Only demand does that. I simply save that money." Trickle-down economics has been repeatedly debunked, yet conservatives...
Yeah, trickle-down economics is obviously nonsense. It doesn't make sense on the face. Like, why would billionaire wealth trickle down. It doesn't make any sense. Why would it? If I was a billionaire, why would I want it to trickle down? I want more. Billionaires shouldn't exist. I agree. I love all the argument against taxing the rich is basically, but they won't be as rich anymore. I mean, yeah, it's kind of the point. Yes, they won't be as rich anymore. I'm kind of okay with that. That's the argument I'm making. The term billionism will be used any day now. When you hit 999,999,999,999 dollars, all the further income should be redistributed, and you get a plaque from the U.S. government that says you won capitalism. Yeah, and they'd still want the $200 for pass and go. If my dog has 100 top hats, then eventually the squirrels he chases for a living will have one top hat each. That's fair.
Lie to you so they can give their wealthy overlords more tax cuts. And good on him for saying that as a wealthy person, because I do appreciate class traders so long as they're rich class traders, not working class bootlickers of the elites.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if I may, I don't know if he's a class trader. He's just explaining how things are. But anyway, that's kind of neither here nor there. And they still have their get out of jail free cards.
But I feel like it's not even necessary to debunk trickle down in 2025 because most people with functioning brains already see it for the scam that it is. But if you accept Jayapal's premise, you implicitly acknowledge that the solution is to tax the rich and redistribute wealth. So I'm thankful that more Democrats are finally starting to understand that you have to teach people who the real common enemy is if you want them to stop falling for the right's divisive class warfare tactics, if you want them to stop falling for xenophobia and racism and transphobia and homophobia and all the phobias and isms. And if you're not already sold on Jayapal's premise, my goal in this video is to sell you on it. Because if I can get you to hate billionaires even just a little bit after you finish watching this, then I'll have accomplished my mission for today. And if you already hate billionaires, then I want to explain to you why you don't hate them enough. So I'm going to start with some just mind-blowing stats from Oxfam that demonstrates just how greedy these parasites are.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, it's very simple. Like, why would you stand up for someone who is so obscenely wealthy that there isn't enough lifetimes to spend that money? Like, can you imagine what $100 billion is? That is unfathomable. Like, we would be irrelevant. We would be dust, okay? We would be dust in the wind before any of that even somehow remotely gets spent. Yeah, just a single $1 billion is incredible. It's obscene. It's a lot of freaking money that doesn't need to be there. I somehow got on the GOP spam list. Yesterday I got one from Mike Johnson for only $7. I could get platinum status. Nice. Because he said I'd been such a great donor, but man, they are good. Nice. Platinum status at being a rube.
We've entered this new era that we're calling survival of the richest, where the ultra wealthy are amassing fortunes like never seen before, frankly, because the economic system is rigged in their favor. Here's some data for you. The world's richest 1% since 2020 have captured nearly 2/3 of all new wealth created in the world. That's the richest 1% grabbing nearly twice as much money as the rest of humanity, the 99% of us
Together.
put
Together, like I don't think, like, look, human beings kind of suck at like understanding the big picture, okay, at grasping the big picture. But like, how is it possible that a very few have so much money and so much wealth, that it takes the 99% of us, and we still don't have as much wealth and resources, and there are still people who are homeless.
together. Meanwhile, 1.7 billion workers now live in countries
Like, how many people would be complaining about billionaires if there weren't any homeless people? How many people would be complaining about quote unquote billionaires if we all had healthcare, if we all had housing and food and education and a baseline standard of living? Like, nobody would care. Honestly, probably not. Until the environmental crisis really hits us. Exactly. Like, what is the point of money at this juncture? Yeah. I that's a fantastic question. They've been stealing from us since the 70s. Is why credit cards became publicly accessible in the 70s too. I mean, yeah. This is a game as old as time, honestly.
which
Like,
inflation
we literally invented Monopoly to illustrate the problems with hoarding this much money, okay?
is outstripping wages, and you've got massive corporations raking in record profits. They're hiking prices, but also exploiting and driving inflation. And I think we're all feeling the impact of that at the cash register. The good news is that none of this is inevitable, that we can do something about this, and we can do a bunch of things, but a fundamental start is ensuring that the super wealthy
Yeah, and also a fundamental part of this is understanding that, like, your enemy isn't the immigrant. Your enemy isn't the trans people. The enemy isn't the gay person. The enemy is someone who is extracting an obscene amount of wealth to enrich themselves, to buy politicians, to reinforce this system, to make themselves more richer so that they can continue to buy politicians, so that they can continue to rig the system in their favor, so that they can continue to enjoy these perks, so that they can continue to buy power, and so on and so forth. Now Trump's stealing an additional few grand from us per year, not counting Obamacare. If you could skip the 30 years leading into the 21st century, we would bring home about 2,000 more per month. Invading Venezuela and ruining millions of lives for no reason, as in the same as in the Middle East. We'll talk about that in just a second.
pay their fair share in taxes. A wealth tax, for example, of up to 5% on the world's multimillionaires and billionaires, that could raise $1.7 trillion a year. That's enough to lift 2 billion people out of poverty and to fund a global plan to end hunger.
So if your only political analysis is tax the rich, redistribute wealth, as simple as that may be, it would drastically transform society because every dollar that they're hoarding could be used for the greater good. And it's not just about using that money to help people. It's about justice. It's about taking money back from them that they stole from their workers. And I say it was stolen because nobody can work hard enough to earn $1 billion. That's preposterous.
Yeah, like it's silly because, like, how do you think that these people made their billions? Do you think it just happened to be that someone like Bill Gates worked so hard at Microsoft that he made $1 billion or whatever? Like, he's obviously worth more than $1 billion. But that's the point. Do you think that someone like Jeff Bezos worked so hard, okay, that he worked his way into $1 billion? No, of course not. His parents saved his company. His parents were the ones that injected all the capital to save Amazon. That's how it happened. It didn't just happen because of his hard work. It happened because he had wealthy enough parents to give him hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay? It's not because he's some kind of genius. I agree. There's no point in money if we're all underwater. Where do they think they're going? Space? Yeah. Perhaps as a one-way ticket. When all the migrants are gone, they'll switch to the rainbow. When the rainbow is gray, they'll switch to brown skin. And when the brown is tamed, they'll switch to what remains nothing solved and only worse. Yeah, Elon's is a moron with deep pockets, but that's it, right? Like, just because you have $1 billion doesn't mean inherently that you're better than anyone or inherently smarter than anyone. That's not how that works. Nepotism queens, yeah, like the same thing with Jeff Bezos. Like, who amongst us have who amongst us has a small loan of $333,000 or whatever, to from your parents to insert into your business that was about to go under. Who amongst us, huh? Thank you for stopping by, Bad Lefty. On the other hand, Kamala lost $1 billion in 4 months. So yeah, true. She didn't. Her campaign was what, like $2 billion, and she still lost, and she managed to lose. She managed to lose to Trump. Elon was smart to aim for government money. Tesla lost that, but not SpaceX. Yeah, sure. Yeah, and when all else fails, when you have enough money, then you just live off the government, right? You live off the government. You live off the government. And then they have the audacity to tell us that when we take out Social Security, that when we want disability benefits, that when we want food stamps, that we're the ones mooching off the government. That reminds me, what do you think about Harris running again for president? Please, God, no. Is that it? Please tell me that's a meme. Please tell me that's a meme. Like, I know she's talked about it, but I honestly thought she was more pivoting to maybe being governor of California. But like, honestly, please, no, please learn your lessons, okay? Like, if you, no, this is actually genuinely like a, something that I would say, please don't run these mealy mouth centrist liberals who can't seem to grasp the problems here. Okay, they're agents of capital, all of them from Biden, to Kamala Harris, to Clinton, to Obama. All these were bad choices, and I think that if you want to win, then you have to put up. You have to put up. No, seriously, you have to offer solutions. You can't win elections on just simply saying Republicans are the bad guys, which they are. They are, but you need to offer something. You need to make sure people get out there and vote for people, okay? The 2020 election was an outlier because people wanted Trump out. That's why. It's not because Biden was a great candidate. It's not because Biden offered something, a new vision for America or anything like that. It's not because Biden was a warrior for the progressive cause or anything like that. It really was that people wanted Trump out because they were tired of the nonsense. And then Biden did as Biden does, and now people were like, well, what the heck? Now what? So that's kind of what happened. And people in general just couldn't grasp the concept. And now we're here. Nobody wanted Kamala or Gruesome Newsom. He'll protect the tech industry from taxation and regulation. I agree. I don't think that they should run. I think that their time is done. I think that they shot their shot and they missed. Okay? Kamala Harris shot her shot and she missed. And she missed because she wasn't really speaking to working class issues. She missed because she refused to not only provide an answer to Trump's growing fascist movement, but she also failed to provide a response to the liberal status quo. That's the problem. You can't just say you can't just say Trump's the bad guy. We know that. We know that. It is a huge mistake. I don't think that the Democrats should run Kamala Harris. I think that that's it. It's done. She shot her shot. Like, it's obvious that this kind of strategy is a losing strategy. Like, they took the wrong lessons from Biden winning the election. No, like, I'm actually dead serious. They took the wrong lessons from Biden winning the election. Biden winning the 2020 election doesn't mean that you should continue down this train. It just simply meant that people wanted Trump out. Kamala said the same thing as Biden, nothing will change, and they even took getting rid of death penalties off their platform. Yeah, they really they really screwed that, and in fact they tried to run to the right. They tried to run to the right on immigration, which failed horribly, because why would I want to vote for as a leftist, why would I want to vote for Kamala if she's putting forth right-wing, or if she's signing off on right-wing talking points about immigration, about crime, about whatever? Why would I do that? I don't want right-wing... if I wanted to vote for right-wing politics, I would just vote for Trump. And the same logic is being used on the Trump side. Why would I want Trump light? Why would I want Republican light when I've got the real deal and just vote for Trump? And that's that. That's why this whole nonsense of running to the right doesn't work.
Like, does anybody actually believe that Elon Musk, who sits on his ass tweeting all day, is working harder than any of his employees at any of his companies? Of course not. Him and his C-suite buddies, they pocket Tesla's profits while their employees barely get crumbs. But it's even worse than that, because as Oxfam points out, about 60% of billionaire wealth comes from one of three sources: inheritance, cronyism, and corruption or monopoly power.
Yeah, that's how you become a billionaire. That is the winning formula. That is the winning formula. In any other election, I'd love for Kamala to lose and realize it's her, not her remaining campaign time. But the next election isn't the time for that. I mean, like, I think it's time that we just kind of let's. And I understand that. Look, Kamala Harris had to enter that race at the very end because of a lot of blunders. You know, there's a lot of. It's not just Kamala Harris. Okay, it's not just Kamala Harris. The DNC didn't step in. Biden refused to step down, even though, as we later found out, after the election was done, we found out that Biden was set to lose like over 400 and something electoral votes, and he knew this, or presumably his team knew this, and didn't step down until the last minute, giving us the only option with Kamala Harris, because she's the only one that had the access to the campaign funds and the campaign apparatus. They couldn't start over at that point. So there is a lot of variables that went south here. I think the Tesla operates in the red. I know they did for years, and when they did make a profit, they go to write it off and pass losses, tax-free money. Heck yeah, just like the Lord intended. Is this the woke humanist report? Subscribe to the Humanist Report. Do it now or I'll sue you. Relax, guy, relax. Pod Save America is just as bad. They're entertaining the likes of Tim Miller now, as if that BS artist has anything to say that the left wants to hear. If I'm, excuse my ignorance, but I have no idea who Tim Miller is. And that's probably for a good reason. They also shut down Waltz, who the public was really starting to love. Yeah, I mean, the number of mistakes and blunders that the Harris campaign did. I mean, like, dude, point blank, period. They lost to Trump. Like, they lost to Trump. Well, that's it. Case closed. Firefly, welcome. I certainly like Governor Walz better than I did. I like Governor Walz's politics better than I did Kamala Harris's. But we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here. Like, they got infinite spine when it comes to sabotaging the left, but they can't even say no to Biden, who can't even think or talk right. And he never stepped down at the time. He never stepped down at when he was supposed to. The guy really thought he was going to win the election. Granted, the numbers that we had at the time were pretty close. It was a pretty close race. And so it ended up being. But we had no idea that the Biden team had already knowledge that this was going really south towards the end of that campaign. We had no idea.
Trillions are being gifted in inheritance, in particular, creating a new aristocratic oligarchy that has immense power in our politics and our economy. In 2023, for the first time, more new billionaires got rich through inheritance than through entrepreneurship. All of the world's billionaires younger than 30 inherited their wealth. The next 3 decades will see over 1,000 of today's billionaires transfer more than $5.2 trillion to their heirs. Oxfam calculates that 36% of billionaire wealth is derived from inheritance. Worse still, this transfer will be largely untaxed. Oxfam's analysis shows that 2/3 of countries don't tax inheritance to direct descendants at all. Half the world's billionaires live in countries with no inheritance tax on the money that they will give to their children when they die, which is absolutely outrageous and egregious. And in a global capitalist system, wealth equals power. So billionaires buy politicians and lobby the government to make sure that the rules never change, to make sure that there's never any laws that benefit workers like you in order for them to keep maximizing profits, to make sure that they never have to pay their fair share of taxes, so you're the one stuck with the bill for the public services that they also use. Their companies drive on our public roads and use our water and fire departments, all
and live off company contracts to the tune of billions of dollars, like SpaceX and Tesla, or whether SpaceX. I said Kamala's campaign should have ran Walz as if he was running for president. They hid Walz and paraded Liz effing Cheney instead. I agree. I agree. I agree. It was really, 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 really bad. Tim Miller is a neo-lib and worse from way back. Recently in a group event that Hassan was on, he actually said, why can't Israel have the ethno-state and other middle... Yeah, okay. Opinion discarded. I didn't know who Tim Miller was, but yeah, that's all I really needed to know. Now they're trying to block any and all AI regulation, which is insane. It is. Every time Kamala got a little ahead in the polling, she would turn around and do something completely effing moronic. True. But that's kind of like standard like practice for like liberals, right? It's the snatching defeat out of the jaws of victory, right? Like, Jesus, it's standard operating procedure.
While they produce propaganda calling poor people leeches on the system, while they're the ones leeching off of the fucking system. It's incredibly ironic, isn't it? And mere talk of a wealth tax is enough to send these parasites into a fucking tizzy. Here's how one billionaire reacted back in 2020 to a 2% wealth tax proposed by Elizabeth Warren.
It's kind of obvious people
2% wealth tax.
can not only see the emotion on your face, but hear it in your voice when you talk about this, Lee.
2%, by
Why?
the way. Look at this.
I care.
I care. I just need my yacht, man. It's my yacht, dude. How am I supposed to tell the grandchildren that Pop is not going to get a new yacht next year? Okay?
That's it.
Families in America
Bro, come on, man. There are people that are homeless. There are people that can't feed their children. Okay?
going hungry and bankrupt due to medical bills.
Yes.
But a 2% wealth tax is too unfair because you just don't understand that they don't have billions in liquidity. So, they're going to be forced to sell assets and stocks to pay that tax bill. Yeah, we do understand. And that's kind of the point. And to add insult to injury, they cry victim when they're the ones victimizing the rest of society with their greed. Here's just a few examples as to how they're doing that. They stick you with their tax bill, as I pointed out earlier, and they force you to fund public services that they also benefit from, such as infrastructure and national defense. They destroy democracy by diluting our political power by lobbying and buying politicians who do their bidding. In fact, a 2014 Princeton University study found that Americans have no...
This is old. I've seen this story so many freaking times, and I still don't understand how people don't understand how people don't get this. Do you want the TLDR on this? Money is power. Money is speech. Okay, in a capitalist society, which the world operates on capitalism, that's the system that we all live under. Money is speech. Money is power. If I have $1 billion, it is a fact that I have a much more bigger voice than any other person on the country, wherever I'm living at. Point blank, period. Jesus, act like a grown-up. Let's just assume those were tears of joy.
Impact on policy outcomes because our entire government has become beholden exclusively to elites.
This is what I show people who say protesting Trump will get us somewhere. We have zero representation in our own government, less than Israel. Yeah, but I still think that we do belong on the streets because nobody's listening to us. So what else do we have to do? We protest. Yeah. Among other direct action, right? There's so many things that you can do besides protesting, right? You can participate in community activities like getting people fed. If you can't do that, then participate in other, donate your time if you have nothing else. Donate your time. Like this direct action, mutual aid stuff, you don't have to protest. They'll be sending the drones to the door to eliminate us individually before incrementalism gets started. Jesus was a baby of your favorite president, me. Melania hates Mike. Melania, darling. We don't. The war on the war on Christmas was won a long time ago. Okay, the war on Christmas was won by General San Cedar, as we declared victory. We need a real civil disobedience. There's a reason most of it gets criminalized. I don't know how much you want to know about the Stop Cop City protests and how truly deranged liberal Dems are. I mean, I can definitely sympathize with the problems of liberalism and where liberalism went wrong. But yeah, the Stop Cop City was in Georgia. And I don't disagree. I mean, civil disobedience has always been a way of getting the goods. I'm glad somebody finally got tough on Christmas. Stolen valor. I was the one who slew Santa.
Top of that, quote, billionaire demand for luxury housing is driving up the cost of land and housing construction, supercharging the already existing housing crisis. Billionaire speculators are buying up rental housing, single-family homes, and mobile home parks to squeeze more money out of the housing shortage. Global billionaires are coming to tax haven USA to park their money in U.S. farmland, timber, and housing. As I mentioned earlier, they're also inflaming existing divisions in society by buying up and or investing in partisan media to sow division and scapegoat black and brown brown people, as well as LGBTQ people and Muslims and immigrants.
Yep.
They're also destroying the planet, not just because of their individual CO2 emissions with excessive private jet usage and whatnot, but through the corporations they own that pollute, or through the investments in corporations that pollute. And as they profit off of the climate crisis, they're blocking action to mitigate the effects of climate change by disseminating climate denial propaganda and by buying politicians that won't rein them in. They're also literally making...
Why do you think Trump's there? I mean, even Biden. Wasn't Biden also like doing record fossil fuel grants? Yeah. Pepperidge Farm remembers. The story's raising my blood pressure. That's why we're trying to get in some ha-has, because I know this is wild.
Us more sick and profiting off of it, since billionaire-backed private equity firms are buying up hospitals and pharmaceutical companies and investing in private insurance companies that profit off of our corrupt healthcare system.
Yep.
And they disseminate more propaganda to fearmonger about the threat of socialized healthcare as well. And on top of that, they're even coming for your pets. Quote,
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
Funds know we love our pets like family members and are sometimes willing to go into debt for their healthcare.
Yep.
To squeeze more money out of us, the billionaires are buying up veterinary care, medical specialties, pet food and supply, and even pet care services like Rover.com.
Yeah, because what are you gonna do? Not feed Fluffy? They do it because they can. I mean, yeah.
Even dictating what's on your food plate. The food barons, the billionaires that monopolize almost every sector of the food economy, are dictating the price, ingredients, and supply of most food. And guess what? Their goal isn't to provide Americans with balanced nutritional diets. It's to load food up with cheap filler ingredients that are addictive in order to maximize profits, because that's what it's about at the end of the day.
Yeah, like, just to be clear, because it's a privatized enterprise, it's not about feeding people, it's about the line going up. It's not about giving people healthcare, it's about the line going up, right? Like, fundamentally, when you buy something, right, this chapstick, right, the company that makes this chapstick isn't interested about the chapstick, it's interested about how many of these they can sell, because that's what dictates what the line going up means. Okay, it's not fundamentally about getting chapstick to people who need it. They're eating the rats. Biden's BBB wanted to privatize a shitload of the federal government. Yeah, he was a corporatist.
Life is getting worse in so many different ways, specifically because billionaires are trying to find more ways to squeeze even more profits out of us. And we kind of just breeze by climate change, but it's really worth emphasizing that they are literally destroying the planet for short-term profits.
That's what it's all
and
about.
And they know that that's what they're doing to make matters even worse. Like, ignorance is one thing, but they know that's what they're doing. And if all of us tried to get our net emissions down to zero, it still wouldn't be enough to save the planet, since just a small fraction of multinational corporations...
Yeah, like, just to understand, like, in order to even begin to address this, we have to change our entire mindset about how we relate to the planet. The planet isn't for us to have dominion over. Okay, we are nature too. We are part of nature too. And the way we think, especially exacerbated by this capitalist system, is that we think of ourselves, and I mean we as in the human species in general, right? This is just a general, not that we as in us think this way. But we as a species think that we're somehow separate from nature, that we can tame nature, that we're above nature. But we aren't, and that's the problem. Well, so what if the water gets polluted in this little town or this little area? Who cares? The data center is going to provide whatever X amount of profit. I keep having to talk people down from thinking Gavin Newsom should be president. I can't deal with most people. Dollar General definitely cut down on serving size and weight, but kept the same packaging. Their cup, shrinkflation. Their cup mac and cheese became soup because they forgot how to lower the fill line, but had less noodles in it. I often wonder why the hell some people are in the business of certain types of products if profits are their main goal, like Mondelez, now that owns Nabisco. They changed their ingredients for most or all the cookies. Now they taste like shit and not the originals. like that everyone liked. Because again, it's not about selling you the cookie, right? It's no longer about selling you the Oreo. It's about how much profit you can produce to your shareholders. It's not about this phone. It's not about this, I don't know, phone stand thingy, or these glasses to make sure that people can see right, or the soda. It's not about the soda at all. It's about how much that line goes up.
Corporations make up the lion's share of global greenhouse gas emissions. So they've decided for all of us that we just don't get to have a future with a habitable planet. And to make matters worse, as I stated earlier, they fund climate denial propaganda when they know damn well that climate change is real. Hence why billionaires like Mark Zuckerberg are gobbling up land from indigenous Hawaiians to build doomsday bunkers under their mansions, because they want to be able to insulate themselves from the climate crisis that they've created. And speaking of Zuckerberg...
And it won't. Not all your billions, okay, is going to save you from this.
Since billionaires like him have so much wealth, they're essentially taking over cities to maximize profits even more. For example, Meta is building a new data center in Louisiana that is the size of Manhattan. You heard that right. The data center is the size of Manhattan. And even though locals do not want that, Meta is running ads bragging about how much small towns love intrusive data centers that suck up all of their clean water and drive up electricity bills. Now, here's a breakdown from More Perfect Union. This is shocking, but nonetheless not surprising at all in this late-stage capitalist climate where billionaires just think they can do whatever the fuck they want.
We went to Holly Ridge, Louisiana, where Meta's new Manhattan-sized data center is being built. Meta's new ads claim these communities welcome data centers, but residents painted a very different picture.
We had no voting on it, no community meetings, no nothing. It was done all under the table, and when it was said and done, there was nothing nobody could do.
You're planning to leave?
I've been here 81 years. I can't stay here with nobody I can talk to. My mom has been out here all her life, 82 years. She's really not happy about it, but does want to leave too.
Do you think they care about the people that live here?
No.
Why would they?
Sure don't.
Residents emphasized the increased traffic violence from Meta's trucks. I dug through police reports and found a 600% increase in vehicle crashes on the roads surrounding Meta's construction site in the last 9 months.
The playground at the front of the school, they're not letting y'all play on that, right?
No. Meta trucks don't watch out. If they try to stop, they will... They wreck.
Oh man, that's horrific, honestly. I saw a headline saying data centers are linked to certain types of cancer. Yes. I think it was the same people. This More Perfect Union was doing a report on this.
Into the gate, and that's why they're saying we shouldn't go out there and all that, because there's too many wrecks and Meta trucks, and they could crash. I really love that playground.
Do you wish you could play there?
Yes.
Residents also shared their distrust in the quality of their water and the lack of support from elected officials to address it.
Yep. So the problem with all of these issues, the water issues, that they don't have enough time to filtrate the water because all of it's being used rather quickly.
I was washing my clothes and messed up a whole load of whites because it come out stained from that brown water.
Do you feel like it's safe to drink?
No, I buy water.
Have you heard anything about them addressing that?
No.
Have you gotten any information about the project at all from anybody?
None at all, except on the internet and on my Facebook.
How does this change what it's like to live here?
Heading out to get groceries and dinner. See you tomorrow, friends. Thank you so much. I appreciate you hanging out.
Totally different. I mean, who wants to live like this?
Certainly not billionaires, which is why they build shit like this in your backyard and not theirs. And I came across this article from Realtor.com where they talk about how Jeff Bezos...
Yeah, Realtor.com, by the way. We know we're dealing with a bastion of leftist propaganda with Realtor.com. That kids be kids, they shouldn't be afraid to play. Yep, but Meta needs a new data center, so gotta have our priorities straight. They now live in a human sacrifice zone, pretty much.
A third mansion on Bunker Island, which is near Miami Beach, just so he can stay there temporarily while they demolish the other 2 mega mansions that he bought back in 2023, so he can combine both of those properties into one mega mansion. And it is astonishing to me that he thinks that he's too good to even stay at the most luxurious hotel in the world. He can afford that, but he's like, no, I'm going to buy this mansion just so I can stay there temporarily while my castle gets built. Listen, Until we eliminate global hunger and poverty and homelessness, there isn't a single person on the planet who should have this much wealth. But ask yourself, would rich assholes like Jeff Bezos be cool with a data center a mile away from them near,
Nope.
billionaire Bunker Island?
Nope.
Would they be okay with a fracking company in their backyard?
Nope.
On Bunker Island? Would they even be okay with like a single family home, just one single family home for a middle-class family on Bunker Island, where the billionaires are? Of course they wouldn't. They're cultivating private little spaces for themselves away from the consequences of their actions that they're forcing the rest of us to live with. And
I think I saw like a meme or a video saying like the world is basically one giant resort for 500 people, and like we're just all the paid staff. And I feel like that never hit more true than now. Bunker Island, a companion piece to Epstein Island.
Go back to Zuckerberg. He drove native Hawaiians off of their own land through lawsuits against hundreds of them, all so he could have it all for himself. And you might be asking yourself, don't these pricks feel even a little bit bad about the things that they're doing? Like,
no, because they're detached from it. Why would they? They don't see it. Like, they know what they're doing, but they don't live with the consequences of their actions. They don't have to use that much water. They can build a closed loop, but it costs more, and that's insane. That's insane. They just bought a data center and can't afford a water cooling system. Yeah, but that's kind of the problem, right? We talked about this with Globus the Elder. We could do these things differently, but that costs money. And when we have a capitalist society that kind of encourages a profit above everything, costs must come down. So that's just the way it is, If we have to destroy this entire community's drinking water, then so be it. Sorry. Meta needs a new data center.
They ever consider the impact that they're having on their communities and on the planet? And the answer is an unequivocal no, because they effectively have brain damage and lack the capacity for empathy. And I'm not saying that, by the way, to be mean. I'm saying that because it is factually true. Studies show that power granted to you by numerous means, including wealth accumulation, it actually has a profoundly negative effect on the human brain. In a 2017 issue of The Atlantic, Jerry Usim writes, the historian Henry Adams was being metaphorical, not medical, when he described power as a sort of tumor that ends by killing the victim's sympathies. But that's not far from where Dasha Kelter, a psychology professor at UC Berkeley, ended up after years of lab and field experiments. Subjects under the influence of power, he found in studies spanning 2 decades, acted as if they had suffered a traumatic brain injury, becoming more impulsive, less risk-aware, and crucially, less adept at seeing things from other people's point of view.
Because when the more power you have, the less connected you are, right? The more wealth, the more power, because wealth is power, the less connected you are to the consequences, right? You don't see what's happening. Not really. Not face to face. You may know about it, maybe. But you don't have to live with it. And that, I think, I feel like that's what causes this kind of situation. Our taxes is covering a percentage of the construction, for fuck's sake. It's partly why electric bills are going up. It should pay for the water cooling system. It helps that town. It helps the town that's fun. Yeah, but we're thinking too rationally here. I spoke to my shareholders. Listen, Soul Life. Listen, okay. I spoke to my shareholders, and unfortunately, that's just not in the books. That's not in the books. Sorry. The data center needs to be up and running as soon as possible. If the people complain, we'll set aside some money in the inevitable lawsuits later down the road. But for now, the line must go up. Does that make sense? I talked to my shareholders. The line goes up no matter what. Jeff Bezos is entirely woke. He is George Soros 2.0. We must stop him now by putting him in jail for all his crimes. The Washington Post and their fake news. Wait, power causes brain damage? Essentially, the argument is, yeah.
Sukhvinder Abhi, a neuroscientist at McMaster University in Ontario, recently described something similar. Unlike Keltner, who studies behaviors, Abhi studies brains, and when he put the heads of the powerful and the not-so-powerful under a transcranial magnetic stimulation machine, he found that power, in fact, impairs a specific neural process, mirroring that may be a cornerstone of empathy. In other words,
that's a
it's
big
not
one, by the way. That's a big one, because, like, in order to do these things to people, in order to literally poison an entire town, you kind of have to let go, or kind of have to already be, you kind of already left empathy behind. You kind of have to be unempathetic, right? The billionaires like Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos and George Soros, any of these billionaires, okay? There is no empathy. That's gone. That empathy has left the chat. Who cares if you have to poison a small town for your data center? Who cares? I don't have to live there. It is unsustainable, but it doesn't matter. Whatever. Mark Zuckerberg is going to make money off the data center, and that's that. Mouselander. I am from Hamilton. My dad worked at McMaster. That sounds like paranoid propaganda, the power research. I mean, I think it stems from like I think it stems really from the lack of empathy. Now you could say that maybe they've got it, maybe the source is wrong, maybe they've got it wrong, but I think all of this stems down from like the lack of empathy.
Just that power corrupts, it literally impacts your brain in a plethora of ways. And in a capitalist society, the amount of power you have is directly proportional to the amount of wealth that you have.
Yep.
So if you're a billionaire, that much power fundamentally changes your brain chemistry in a significant way.
Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe, I don't know. You don't need a study to observe their behavior and the result of it. Yeah, you could see there's like psychopaths or sociopaths. What is the career that has the most sociopaths? I can guarantee you one of the top 5 careers with the most sociopaths is CEO. I can guarantee you the top careers, okay, quote unquote, the top careers that have the most amount of sociopaths, CEO is on that list. I bet you. I would bet money on that, and I don't even have to look it up.
I mean, just look at Elon Musk, who's on track to be the world's first trillionaire. You can't look at that man and tell me that he's normal, because he is not. Perhaps he behaved like a normal person at some point in his life, but you can see how his brain rot seemed to grow at the same pace as his wealth. So they're never, ever going to think about the pain and suffering that they're causing, because once you accumulate a certain amount of wealth, you just lose your humanity and view life exclusively through the lens of wealth maximization. It's why they have no
Well, because you have to, right? Power does corrupt, I agree, but the people are overblowing the idea. It's not hard to understand. I mean, perhaps. I think that the crux of the whole thing is that, like, yeah, you have to be unempathetic to get there, and that there's fundamentally like psychological stuff that you might want to study as to how we got there. The fact that they exist as what they are is evidence as well before you even get into the weeds of how they got it at all. We should pass a law saying politicians need to be screened for sociopathic traits. Well, I mean, I don't know about like the politicians. You can make guardrails regardless of what the politicians are, right? Like if we had proper guardrails, we would have bans against. We would make sure that we would enforce our laws against insider trading, right? If regardless of what the politicians say or think, if we actually enforced our laws, we would have people going to jail for insider trading. Many are those that seek power positions. Yeah, I agree. We are living in a mass extinction caused by fossil fuel companies for money. Can't really overblow that. Yep. And they know this.
problem demonizing marginalized minorities and pitting working class people against each other because they're so detached from the average human being's experience that they can't possibly comprehend the pain and suffering brought about by the things that they're doing. So go back to the start of the video where we talked about the common enemy on the left versus the right. How can anyone with a straight face tell me that immigrants are to blame for all of our problems given everything that we've talked about in today's video? You just can't, right? Which is why Jayapal is right to shift all of the vitriol that's currently being directed at immigrants towards the rich, because they really do deserve all of our scorn. You should also save some—
The price of liberty is eternal vigilance, and Americans have not been vigilant. Yep. You can't sustain profit growth without innovation unless you're doing something shady to make up for it when our wages don't rise with prices. Yeah, and why would I want to like waste all this time innovating? Ugh. Innovation sounds like work. What if we just buy politicians instead? Yeah.
of that energy for capitalism itself, since, you know, billionaires are inevitable consequences of that system, which incentivizes greed. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you focus on the wrong 1% and falsely believe that trans people or immigrants or Muslims are the cause of all of your problems, you've been duped by the people responsible for your suffering in the first place. So don't be a useful idiot by attacking minorities. Let go of your bigotry and work with them to disempower elites. Otherwise, nothing will ever get better.
True. Anyone who believes exponential growth can go on forever in a finite world is either a madman or an economist. I actually remember that quote. All right, folks, we gotta speed run through some of these news articles. I am once again pointing to the rising cost of healthcare being caused by Republicans and Democrats who refuse to hold the line. This is, by the way, what these 8 Democrats folded for, by the way. There's an article about how sociopaths tend to flock towards power and leadership, but I can't find it. Oh, no, I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm pretty sure, like, I don't even have to look it up, and I'm guaranteeing, like, I am very confident in saying that CEOs would be on that list. Has an economics degree. Yeah, news particles. Gotta go through the news particles. It says so right on the floppy drive. ACA shoppers have starting price for Michelle Obama as president, $10,000. ACA shoppers face sticker shock as Congress dithers on healthcare. Or another way of putting it, Republicans want you as poor people to pay way more in healthcare, and Democrats rolled over and let them do it. That's the headline. We've been here before, congressional Democrats and Republicans sparring over the future. Like, just to be clear, like what they're sparring over is whether or not you would be able to afford healthcare next year. Which last time I checked was in like, what, a couple weeks? Yeah. But this time there's an extra complication. Though it's in the middle of open enrollment, lawmakers are still debating whether to extend the subsidies that have given consumers extra help by paying their health insurance premiums in recent years. Yeah, that's a really tough debate, you know. That's a really tough debate. Mulling over the question of whether or not the poors should have subsidies to make sure that they can afford health care. It's a difficult question, folks. It's a difficult question. The circumstances have led to deeper consumer concerns about higher costs and fears of political fallout among Republican lawmakers. According to a KFF poll released in December, about half of current enrollees who are registered to vote say if their overall healthcare expenses, co-pays, deductibles, and premiums increase by $1,000 next year, it would have a, quote, major impact on whether they vote in next year's midterm elections or which party candidate they support. This is why a lot of Republican Congress people are freaking the heck out because they see the writing on the wall. This is, by the way, not the only source of data showing this trend. Bruno, welcome. We are live from Polymarket Studios. Chuck Schumer pretending he was backstabbed when he was the guy handing out the knives, and the only reason we have the subsidies because they refuse to do any kind of public option. Yeah, just to be clear, like the obvious answer is to have a universal healthcare system. Period. Point blank. That's it. That's the answer. However, we don't have that. And the crumbs that we got, which was subsidies for poor people, by the way, that's being taken away. And now prices are skyrocketing for poor people, which, by the way, makes prices go up for everybody else. That's just the way it works. Healthcare for society is for the common good of us all, but the wealthy clearly want us to die. Yeah, the wealthy don't care. They can afford healthcare. Why would they care if some poor family can't afford healthcare? It's their problem. For those that caught in the middle, including consumers, real people. I hate that this is a thing. Consumers? We're talking about healthcare here. And leaders of the 20 states, along with District of Columbia, that run their own ACA marketplaces, the lack of action on Capitol Hill has led to uncertainty about what to do. Before I sign up, I'll wait and see what happens, said poll participant Daniela Perez, a 34-year-old education consultant in Chicago who says her current plan will increase to $1,200 a month, basically an extra rent or mortgage a month, up from about $180 this year without an extension of the tax credits. I'm not super hopeful. It seems like everything is in gridlock. In Washington, as part of the deal to end the recent government shutdown, a Senate vote was held December 11th on a proposal to extend the subsidies. Another option, which was advanced by Republicans and included funding health savings accounts, was also considered. Neither reached the 60-vote threshold mark necessary for passage. So yeah, this is nonsense. Why would you, why would you create all this convoluted nonsense? You don't need to do health savings accounts. You just need to extend the tax credits. Public option is mixed public-private system. I still don't agree with such, but it would be much better than what it is right now. Yeah, I agree. I would much rather have that than this. But we don't have either. We have this garbage. I'm missing something. The insurance companies allowed subsidies to end, in my mind. They will lose a lot of money, but they clearly have an alternative revenue plan. The alternative revenue plan is prices go up. That's the alternative plan. It makes no sense even from a capitalist point of view, because if millions are tapping out of the private healthcare insurance market, they won't make money. It's not like a house which assets whether someone is renting it or not. I mean, they'll just raise the prices on everybody that is, and those who can't, it'll just stratify the healthcare industry. Who the F has money to save when their premiums are increasing to $2,000 per, well, it'd be $2,000 per month. No one, and that's kind of the point. How much wealth does the bottom 50% have? Don't look too much into that. That only loses them more people, more money. I mean, maybe they think that they're going to recoup this through other tax credits. I have no idea. I have no idea, because the subsidies were literally funneling money to the insurance companies. So I don't know. It doesn't make any sense because we're not dealing in rational times. We're not living in rational times. Maybe these health insurance conglomerates have already figured this out, and will get their money in one way or another. Is that woke journalist named Katie Couric going on that woke wine mom podcast called, I actually like that podcast. In woke production of failing ABC News, cancel it. We elect apathetic politicians and the world suffers thanks to bad judgment. Society must think. I mean, it's not, if I may, I don't want to be too nitpicky, but I don't think that they're apathetic. I think they're very much engaged. They're just not engaged with us. Like the politicians that are elected in office, they're not necessarily apathetic. Or perhaps you mean apathetic to us, in which case I would agree with you. But they're definitely engaged, just not for us. On the House side, Speaker Johnson plans to meet this week to bring to the floor a narrow legislative package designed to tackle the real drivers of healthcare costs. Is it capitalism? Is it the private industry? Because we're not doing healthcare, we're doing profits. No. It would include expanding access to the association health plans and appropriations for cost-sharing reduction payments to stabilize the individual market and lower premiums. It also increased transparency requirements for pharmacy benefit managers. Thanks, dude. Like the bill put forward by Republicans in Senate, it would not extend the ACA enhanced subsidies. Lawmakers are likely to vote on such an extension at some point, but it's not clear when. That kind of matters because they're about to expire. Like, just to be clear, like, you might as well kiss those subsidies goodbye. If you depend on the ACA subsidies, then like, sorry, your healthcare is going to be super high, and you just won't be able to afford it. They said immigrants are the source of high prices on anything. Yeah, that's right. In general, Democrats want to extend the life of the more generous subsidies created in response to the COVID pandemic. Those are set to expire at the end of the year. Republicans are split, with many balking at the cost of a straightforward extension. Well, the cost of not doing it is more. So, yeah. As well as the policy and political implications that might come with a vote to buttress the ACA, which may have long viewed as public enemy number one. If we got a public option or Medicare for all, the GOP would spend 50 years disassembling it. Yep. No doubt about it. And a few back proposals would extend the tax subsidies, fearing that failing to do so will result in political fallout in the next midterm elections. The result is that differing policy positions are being advanced by lawmakers on both sides of the aisle and both chambers of Congress. So the reality is, because we got to keep it moving. The reality is that they're not coming. The help is not coming, folks. And this is by design. A lot of Republicans, including leadership, do not want you to have these subsidies. They don't want you to have these subsidies. Those subsidies belong to the rich people. The GOP bill doesn't solve any issues with the price increase. No, not at all. It's not designed to. It's not designed to. We've got a couple stories and we got to skedaddle before 7 o'clock. Designing fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. God, I love this administration. By the authority vested in me by the Constitution. God, this is so cringe. And the laws of the United States of America, I hereby order, yada, yada, yada. Listen, fentanyl is closer to a chemical weapon than a narcotic. 2 milligrams of the most... It's literally like medicine. We use it for medicine. But, okay. What about the bailout for farmers? The bailout for farmers was caused by the very same tariffs that Trump caused. So, yeah. Then they shouldn't have them. Force them to get coverage we can afford on average. But what is he doing about the Sackler family? Not a thing. Says the president takes narcotics daily and pardons drug lords. Yep. 2 milligrams on almost undetectable trace amounts equivalent to 10 or 15 grams per table salt constitutes a lethal dose. Hundreds of thousands of Americans have died from fentanyl overdose. Manufacture and distribution of fentanyl, primarily performed by organized criminal networks, threaten our national security. Yeah, by the way, all of this is to say, the fact that he wants to, this is insane. So the fact that he wants to designate fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction, you know what that means, right? This is literally I think somebody in chat said earlier about why we're invading Venezuela. Well, we can just say that Venezuela has weapons of mass destruction. This is what this is. It's laying out because obviously I don't think this is like anything that he can do. This feels like just like a executive orders aren't law. But however, the point is, this is the idea of putting this out there is to sell the public on an idea of a new war, folks, or potentially, because it seems to me that none of this makes any sense other than, hey, I want to label fentanyl or whatever as a weapon of mass destruction so that I can then say Venezuela or Colombia or whoever, Brazil, to help my little friend J.R. Bolsonaro, we can just say that these countries are manufacturing weapons of mass destruction and therefore a threat to national security, and therefore we have to go in. The Secretary of War and Attorney General shall determine whether the threats posed by illicit fentanyl and its impact on the United States warrant the provision of resources from the Department of War to the Department of Justice to aid in the enforcement of Title 18, yada yada yada. So this is a the false pretense. Okay, this just came out today. This is the false pretense that we are being attempted to be sold to then, because I guarantee that this is what this is about. Trying to designate fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction is, to me, insane. Unless you're thinking about it as a pretense to invade Venezuela for their oil. Why would we import it to Venezuela from Venezuela? And Mexico's right there. Yeah, but whatever. I mean, why make too much sense? So, let's not think too much about this, okay? Please leave your common sense, okay? Please leave your common sense and rationality at the door, okay? When we're dealing with this kind of stuff here, okay? WMDs. This is literally the straight 2001 playbook. I mean, this isn't even... this is almost satirical. This is almost satirical. This is insane. I'm so glad a Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to a fascist this year. All right, folks, we'll do this one. Because I gotta get going and get some food. It's about to be 7. They act like shipments come from farms of poppy. It's an outdated mindset. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just to designate whoever, right? Whether it be Venezuela or he was trying to start stuff with Colombia too. Whoever as a manufacturer of weapons of mass destruction, which means we can go in, right? Which is the pretense to say oh, we actually should probably invade Venezuela. Pro-peace president, by the way. There is simply no evidence that Venezuela is a narco state. Meanwhile, POTUS signs deals with an actual narco state, El Salvador. Yeah, true. But El Salvador is so good. It's so clean. It's so great over there. Also, hey, Mr. President Bukele, hey, it's so great. You solved all the drug problem. Great. Hey, when are you going to release your emergency powers that you've had for years now? Since you've solved all the problem, there's no more murders. Oh, yeah. Things that make you go, Federal trial to begin for Milwaukee judge accused of helping undocumented man evade arrest. Oh my God, this sounds so serious. He also imported a cartel member and his family. He also imported Andrew Tate, a human trafficker and scammer. True. The federal trial is set to start on Monday for Wisconsin. We went over this story, by the way. This is nonsense. This is literally nonsense, and she's probably going to get these charges dismissed or acquitted. Based on the same defense that the Supreme Court gave the executive. The federal trial is set to start on Monday for a Wisconsin judge accused of concealing an undocumented man to prevent his arrest by immigration authorities. Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan was charged in a 2-count federal indictment. By the way, we were told that the Democrats were the ones that were weaponizing the Justice Department against their political enemies. After she allegedly obstructed justice obstructed official Department of Homeland Security removal proceedings and knowingly concealed a man from immigration authorities at a courthouse in April. She's pled not guilty. Opening statements are expected to get underway on Monday in the Milwaukee trial. Following jury selection last week, prosecutors have told they expect to have 25 to 28 witnesses. Dugan can face up to 6 years of prison if convicted. According to federal prosecutors, Dugan encountered federal agents who were at the Milwaukee Circuit Court to arrest Eduardo Flores Ruiz, who was appearing in her courtroom on a battery charge. Prosecutors said after speaking to agents, Dugan directed them to the chief's office down the hall and sent Florida Senator Attorney out a non-public door in an alleged attempt authorities to claim to help him arrest on immigration violations. It's going to be thrown out. I will not be surprised. Yeah, this is nonsense. Dugan's lawyer have called the arrest virtually unprecedented and sought to dismiss the case, arguing that she has judicial immunity for official acts and her prosecution is unconstitutional. You know, just like the way that they, just like how the Supreme Court said that the president under official acts should be immune. Judge Lynn Alderman denied this motion, finding there was no basis for granting immunity simply because some allegations in the indictment described the conduct that could be considered part of a judge's job. That's interesting. The Wisconsin Supreme Court suspended Dugan in the wake of her arrest, stating that the order was in public interest that she be temporarily relieved of official duties. Flores Ruiz, a native of Mexico, was later arrested and charged with unlawful re-entry to the U.S. He was sentenced to time served earlier this month after pleading guilty to the charge. DHS said last month he had been deported. So we're going to follow this case. To me, this is nonsense. This is just like standard procedure in her courtroom. So to say that she was deliberately trying to conceal or hide anyone is ridiculous. But the reason why I think this is important is because this will set the kind of tone that this administration will take when it comes to now going after the judiciary that doesn't follow and bend to his will. That's what this ultimately is about, right? That's what this ultimately is about. It's not about this single judge, okay? It's not about this single judge. It's about setting the precedent, setting the tone. Like, hey, if you don't play ball, this is what's going to happen to you, okay? If they get her on this, is crazy, but we no longer live in a nation of laws. Yeah, that's kind of like the point. That's kind of the point, right? Because it's funny, the reason why I pointed that out, it's like, oh, wait a minute. That's fascinating. This judge understood, and by the way, I think this is correct. The logic is correct. I don't think that, I think that this should have been thrown out from the beginning, but I think that the logic is correct. That, you know, there's no basis for granting immunity simply because some of the allegations in the indictment describe conduct that could be considered part of a judge's job. In the same way, like, how is it that this judge arrived at the same logical conclusion, the correct one, but somehow the Supreme Court granted the president the immunity in the same, and it would be in a hypothetical same situation. The Supreme Court said, actually, the president would enjoy a greater immunity just simply because. And obviously that's not the case, because this judge is correctly pointing out, like, wait a minute, why are we just granting immunity here? Just because some of the allegations could be considered part of a judge's job. We shouldn't be able to do that. And I agree. You owe us minutes. Yeah, no, I'm owed. I do, but I'm hungry. So that's kind of the conundrum we're having here. But I do have this one here. Former Trump aide appears in Wisconsin court over 2020 fake elector scheme charges. So this is happening. Where we've been following these cases with regards to the attempt to overturn the election. we are now in the opening parts of this case. We will see what happens because I think that the evidence is important. I think that it needs to be continued to reiterate or reinforce the fact that, yeah, these people tried to overturn the election by shoehorning these fake electors. And I think that we shouldn't forget about that. And somehow this man is president. The Supreme Court said they want to dismantle the country, so I'm wondering what the possible strategy is going to be around repairing the judicial branch. They think that they're going to be unaffected, I guess. I have no idea. There isn't really a pathway for anyone capable of reform to get into power. U.S. in the 60s was more left-leaning than we have now. Yeah, I mean, that may be the case. You might be right. But here we are. Here we are. So in case anyone forgot, yeah, they still, they're still prosecuting some of these cases that are making their way through the courts about these fake elector schemes that Republicans tried to gin up to steal the election. The shadow docket is also emergency use, but anytime it's used, they should have to revisit that case within 30 days as a normal process. Why is this even allowed and unregulated? Because screw you. Screw you, pleb. We are the 9 law wizards, and we do as we please. Next question. Okay, seriously, it's already past 7 o'clock. I gotta get out of here. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate all of your support. You guys are what makes this channel go. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for being here. If you want to support the channel, there are many different ways of doing so. Some of the best ways of doing so is spreading the word, folks. We are here Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. Tomorrow, we'll be on this space at 7 p.m. Eastern time, so check out my show at 7 p.m. Eastern if you want to support the channel directly, like some of you have. And I appreciate that. Check out the merch store. Hit the exclamation mark tip. Join the Discord, folks. And check out the Substack. All right. I'm out of here. Thank you, Michael Hessler. Thank you, Heat, for modding the chat. I appreciate it. Enjoy your den. I am. And welcome to Late Stage Unfettered Capitalism. Oh, we're here, folks. We are here. Yeah, you know the place. This space. Thank you all for being here. We'll be back tomorrow, 7 p.m. This space YouTube channel. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow. Mañana. See ya. Hang tight, folks. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye.